Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm your host, Reggie Hayes, and thank you for joining us today, whether you're watching online or whether you're listening online. The purpose of Horizon Hustle is to talk about starting a business, all the resources available to you. Some people want to start a business, don't really know which way to turn, don't really know where to start, and that's the entire premise of the entire show here. And with me today is the awesome Mauricio Mendoza, and he is a consultant, entrepreneur, also the founder and CEO of Bixli, which is a digital consulting firm dedicated to helping service-based businesses thrive online. So tell me a little bit, you have a background in software?
In software and database development.
Okay.
But now I'm focusing on client acquisition systems, digital accessibility, and reputation management. Through our core loop system, a proprietary framework, we are empowering business owners to simplify their technology stack, attract more clients, and build trustworthy digital brands.
Very cool. Now, you're also a mentor at the local university as well, right? UNCW here in Wilmington, North Carolina. And talk a bit about that a little bit?
Yes, it's my way to give back to the community. I think that's always very important. And so I volunteer as a mentor where I've been able to help a lot of startup businesses. And in addition, in my professional life, I also provide fractional C-suite services to startups and thriving businesses.
Oh, very cool. Very nice. Yes, for those that don't know, UNCW here in Wilmington, they have a great program at the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And, it's probably worth mentioning that no matter where you are in the country, I mean, there's a lot of resources at any local like community college or university. So might be worth checking into. You've been in the consulting world for almost 3 decades, right? That's a long time. What got you interested to start helping small businesses?
I've always been drawn to help people who have a dream, who want to thrive and start up a business, but they have limited resources. So early in my career, I started helping entrepreneurs that just needed help getting set up. But as I grew, I knew that there had to be a systematic way to help them to be able to grow online, and that's what I'm doing now.
And so that led you to Bixli, and that's what inspired you to start it.
Yeah, it was the fact that I saw businesses failing to clearly represent themselves online. They spent a lot of resources trying to get the message out, but it was ineffective, and so that limited their growth. I knew that implementing the right mix of systems and processes, I could really help them to get their message out and really begin to help others, which is really the mission for any business.
So at some point you had to take a leap from the safety of your corporate job and go self-employed. Can you tell me a little bit about that? It sounds a little scary. I mean, I know a lot of people when they talk about starting a business, I mean, they're in a job and maybe they're in a job they don't like. And it's a scary chapter, to take that leap.
Yeah, well, it was very calculated. It was not impulsive. I built a runway. I validated my systems. I took the leap. And I actually benefited from a lot of the resources at the local university, the local colleges, so that it helped me to have a good foundation. So now I have the freedom to serve my clients, but it's not, by having thought this out very well, I'm not limited in how I can help with added stress of what am I going to do. So I felt like I had a very good system in place that would help me to be able to make that transition smoothly.
Oh, wow. Once you're off the ground and you're self-employed and now it's a race to get your first couple of clients. What's the best way to get those first few clients and get started on that client base, especially when you have to start from scratch?
Reggie, I think it's having a clear offer. And the clear offer is born from knowing what is the problem you're trying to solve. So knowing that very clearly right from the start and having real conversations with people about those problems and how you can solve them, that goes a long way into building trust and generating interest in what you do.
Oh, wow. So have a good offer right from the beginning. And we're talking about service-based companies, right? I mean, the same could be applied for product-based, or is that a little bit of a different startup thing?
It's the same principle. If you're selling a product, why are you selling the product? You're not just trying to take up more space in someone's home or in someone's business, but there's a purpose to your product, and that is the problem that it's trying to solve. So clearly knowing what you offer, what value you offer, whether it's a product or a service, that's key to getting off the ground.
In 1 Million Cups that we both attend, by the way, 1 Million Cups, not to give them a plug here, but a really great nationwide program or group of entrepreneurs. But one of the videos that they showed was solving a problem for someone. You find someone, you solve that problem. You find someone else, you solve that problem, and then you keep going. And that's sort of keep going until you make a business. But what is one common mistake that you see in entrepreneurs in the startup phase?
Well, I agree with that approach, but I would say one caveat is that if you're trying to figure out how to solve the problem each time, then you've lost. What you need to do is anytime you have to do something more than twice, you should have a process that's documented. You should have a system, because that'll make it smoother. That'll give you a much better experience for your clients. And again, you focus on the problems you can solve. You don't want to solve every problem. No business can. But you want to focus on what are the core things that you can offer as a business and solve those problems. Have a systemized approach to that. And any other ancillary problems, be a referral partner to other businesses who can actually solve those problems effectively for your clients. That will generate trust and will actually probably result in more business long-term for you.
Oh, wow. So as a new business owner, how do you balance working in the business versus working for the business? I know I'll give you an example. Like with me, starting a business, in early on, you're the head of the business, then you're the IT guy, and you got to be the gopher, and all those things. How do you balance that?
Well, one of my key values is respecting my time. Very few entrepreneurs respect their time. So how do I respect my time, Reggie? I use time blocks. So I have my CEO time block for Bixli, where I'm actually working on the business as a CEO. But if I need to block out some time to handle tech issues or onboard a new technology, well, that's going to be time blocked as well. And I don't let those time blocks bleed out into other essential activities in my business. That way, my business is never neglected, my clients are never neglected, and also I'm taking care of myself. As a business consultant, my health and my well-being is paramount to keeping my business going. So I believe that by respecting my time and using time blocks wisely, that's what helps me to really best serve my clients.
I know, I'll give you an example to support that, not to call him out, but my brother, he has equipment, trucks, that sort of thing, but he also has customers that he uses with those trucks in his business. I was telling him, listen, you always need a day during the week, like maybe a Friday or Friday afternoon, that needs to be maintenance days, or something like that. You try to have that block, because he's kind of starting out and trying to get things going, trying to get his customer base, and it's really hard. It's a really hard chapter to be in, and especially when you have to back up and do maintenance on equipment or repairs and that sort of thing. Because the last thing you want to do is try to do that when you're in front of a customer, in front of a client, and your things are breaking down. So trying to find that balance, I think, is very, very important, very key.
Yeah. that just reminded me of a very successful software company in New York City. That's exactly what they did. All of their full-time employees were expected to work on client work Monday through Thursday. But Fridays was dedicated to improving their knowledge. They had to have some sort of learning project, other activities, not client focused, but focused on building the business, building their strengths, building their abilities. And everybody from the CEO down to the entry-level developers were required to dedicate that one day just to that personal development. That really made it so that they had highly skilled, very effective individuals working in their company. And I think that was a secret to their success.
All right, you heard it right here. Goof Off Fridays. Did I get that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, let's switch gears for a second. Let's talk about online, online digital strategies. So what is a key ingredient of a strong online presence for a small service-based business? What do you think the secrets are there?
The secret is in clear articulation. Articulate exactly what problem you're trying to solve. And many people wonder, well, does that mean I have to have a lot of social media presence, a lot of websites, a lot of marketing? Honestly, those are all vehicles to broadcasting your message, to letting people know. But if what you're saying isn't clear, what you offer isn't clear, it doesn't matter what tools or means you use to send that message out, it's going to be cloudy and ineffective. So clarifying what it is you offer and having a clear, effective message that can be adapted to any type of media, that's the very first thing a business should do.
Oh, wow. Now, Bixli has the core loop system. Can we talk about that for a second? And you can tell like what it is or how it helps businesses attract and retain clients?
Sure. So we are allowing them to be able to attract leads and convert clients by systemizing the way they approach client acquisition. So we have a defined process, how it is that they define their core offer. That's a big part of the system. Again, that clarity. And then now, how do you have a repeatable process by which you can communicate that offer, provide value for people that are interested in that offer, and now convert them into paying customers?
No. Okay. Now, on one of the previous episodes, I had a graphic designer and brand manager on, and we talked about the need to have that stuff early on and starting to build an online presence. But when you're starting a business, you got a tight budget. And what are some of the must-have digital tools or strategies that you would see as a priority to have right off the bat?
Yes. And, I'll say this. I do agree branding is important, and I do help my clients get good branding. But that really just feeds the ego, right? It's what makes the business look good to you. Key things before you even invest in branding should be your Google My Business page. Having that set up. It's free. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you, if you don't know what you're doing, Google is going to block you. And I have clients that have come to me that said, look, I tried to do this on my own and now I'm blocked. And it's very difficult to get them back on. So knowing that, investing in that, a free resource, but well-placed, strategically established, that's key. 2, a simple one-page website that tells people what it is you offer. Again, that clarity, start with that one page. As you see clients demand more information, they want more, you can add to that. But that one page setup is very easy to do. You don't have to spend a lot of money doing that. And it doesn't have to have a branded logo and all sorts of collateral that goes across a large website. You start with that when you have limited resources, bring money in, and then you can use that money to develop the brand, develop into something much bigger.
Oh, wow. That's good. I know I started a business doing boat charters years ago, and that was the thing was we had a Google page, and I got to tell you that between Facebook and Google, I mean, they are free, like you said, very minimal to run ads, but if you don't set them up, it is just treacherous. You really need to have someone that knows what they're doing to set that up. It's not expensive, but it is vital, especially when you start off. I think having one of the challenges was having an address, especially if you're a home-based business or something like that. You maybe don't want to put your address, out for the world to see. But it is having those tools, Google Maps, Google Business Page. I could see the value in that.
Yeah. So in order to establish an address, there's so many resources at the university level. There's like, for example, at the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship here in Wilmington, a startup can rent a space to get to either be a coworker or an office, I believe, and you get that as your business address.
Yeah,
there's other co-working spaces that do the same. So invest in that. Get your business address established. Get your Google business page up. Those are very key things that a lot of entrepreneurs that are starting up fail to realize.
And that goes right into the next question here. But what are some of the low-cost ways to build trust and credibility with your customers, your future customers, especially for new businesses when you don't have any reviews or a track record of anything? What's a good way to build some credibility there?
So what I'm about to tell you, Reggie, goes against all of my introverted ways. But the number one way to build trust is to be out there, to get yourself out there, be in front of the camera. So instead of on your one-page website that you start off with, instead of filling it with stock photography that could be representing 100 million things, put yourself on that page. Be there. Have a video of yourself talking about what you do, why it's important. That is going to go a long way. Second, right away, get testimonials from your initial clients. Maybe you have that buddy who, said, "Well, okay, do it for me, and I'll let me try out your service." Well, rather than just getting a written testimonial, grab your phones. Phones have excellent cameras these days, and just record them giving a testimonial and put that up. A quick testimonial like that is going to go a long way. People can generate testimonials these days on ChatGPT, and they look great. So people don't trust so much a written testimonial on your website, but a video testimonial, that establishes a lot of trust, and it's inexpensive and relatively easy to do.
Oh, that's good advice. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the phones, they're fantastic, pieces of technology, and that's a really good point. Moving on, let's talk about a different chapter here, another core focus of Bixli, accessibility. I didn't realize some of this, especially whenever we were talking, earlier in our sort of discovery calls here, but accessibility is pretty important in the website. It is also how you communicate that, but also it's federally mandated. So can you tell me a little bit about that? How does Bixli work with that in terms of accessibility?
Sure. A lot of people are familiar with roadblocks to accessibility in the physical world, right? Bathrooms have bars so that people can, transition from their wheelchair. There's ramps on doors. And all of these were federally mandated here in the United States for businesses. But now what we're addressing is digital accessibility. So it may mean, for example, that you lay out your website in a logical manner that when a voice reader is going to read the content of your website, it's read in a logical way that still makes sense to the person who has no vision. But it goes further than that. Many people think, well, okay, so it's something that I'm doing for just blind people. But consider this. You might choose a font that makes it so that someone with dyslexia looks at the page and all the letters and characters are jumbled and jumping. And so it creates anxiety and they're unable to read your content. Or someone with attention deficit hypersensitive disorder, ADHD, they may have issues with how colors are used or some of the interactive elements. So taking all of those things into consideration right at the beginning is foundational.
Wow. So when we were talking, some of these things, these are things you have to have on the website. When you build a website, the accessibility part is not just the United States, but it also applies to EU. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So there are new laws in the EU that were just enacted in June that carry heavy penalties, even criminal liability, for companies who don't provide accessible digital spaces. And that applies not just to websites, but applications, digital documents. Think about it. If you have a contract that you're ready to sign a client with, and now they receive that PDF and they're not able to sign the contract because it's poorly laid out and it's inaccessible to them, doesn't accommodate their disabilities, you might lose your client. But now under EU law, you might actually be liable.
Oh, wow.
So that's important. So there are laws both in the EU and in the US. And you might think, well, I'm a US business, I'm a small guy. Does this really matter to me? Well, if someone in the EU can reach your digital presence, whatever digital product you have, then you're bound. So It's the same as now where we had the privacy laws from Europe have affected how we do our websites, and you have those cookie bars accepting all of that. It's the same equivalent now for accessibility.
Oh, wow. So when you're hiring that nephew who's really good with computers to build your website, you better know what he's doing.
And that's the key. Yeah. Nowadays, anybody can put together a website.
Yeah.
But if you hire your nephew to do it because he can do it for free, he may not be aware of these things. And so what you're doing is you're building a hidden liability in your business. Many people are now getting sued for their failure to provide accessible websites. And if that person happens to be in the state of New York or California, not only can you be liable for the whatever civil penalties there is, but they can actually sue for damages. This has caused many small businesses to go bankrupt and to even close because of the legal expenses and the judgments that come against them because they failed to invest properly on a website that's accessible.
Oh, wow. So not to feel overwhelmed, but I mean, how do you have a startup and you're getting into your digital presence? How do you tackle this from day one without feeling overwhelmed?
Well, it's easy. Look at what you're doing, and not just as a product of good looks for yourself. Look at it how it's going to be accessible to others. So there are tools, even in the tools that you use to build your own website. Look at the contrast in colors. Look at providing alternate text for your images and things like that. But key, again, I emphasize it, the difference between hiring your nephew to do your website and hiring a professional is that a professional should have that knowledge and foundation clear in his mind how he's going to deliver that. And Reggie, I can't emphasize this enough. Getting it done right the first time is always less expensive than having to retrofit it in later.
I'm a big fan of that.
So you're not saving money by just trying to do it on the cheap first and then finding yourself facing a legal lawsuit.
Yeah. Now, have you ever seen any situations where perhaps the accessibility improved profitability or customer engagement?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, consider this, Reggie. 1 in 4 people have some sort of disability. So if you're establishing boundaries there, it's a quarter of your market that's being closed because of that. We had one client that was able to increase his conversion rate by over 30% just by establishing clear accessibility on his homepage. Now we're talking about one page, but because it was more accessible, he found more people were converting. The page loaded up better because good accessibility also improves the performance of your site across the board. So the page loaded better. It had a much clearer layout, which made it much easier for customers and clients to be able to see what is he offering, what should I do next, and they took that next step.
Wow. So you got to have accessibility, not just in terms of sidewalks and handrails, but you've got to have it on the website as well, your digital presence.
Absolutely.
Very cool. So let's move on to systems here. So you've got like a systems thinking approach here, but how can entrepreneurs apply those systems to their own operations? And how does that contrast with an idea-driven business?
Yeah. So many businesses and many entrepreneurs get an idea, and that's really the genesis of their business. And so they're very idea focused, but they don't have a systematic approach to realizing that idea. So a systems thinking approach is to actually look at what are going to be the things, the key systems that are going to enable me to reach and realize my idea. So having set goals, and anytime you're doing something more than once, having a system that is repeatable to do that, then that's going to simplify it. It lowers your mental overhead, your business overhead, and it just makes you more efficient and more scalable for growth.
Yeah. So when we were talking the other day, I was going to tell you, the Blue Horizon Innovations, we manufacture the solar panels and getting into some more divisions. And part of that challenge is bringing on new people. And we talked about having a system for those new people. And that's some of the hardest things is like you want to bring someone on for a specific role. But when you're a startup, you have to wear some of those other hats, and bringing some of those people on can be really challenging as far as if you don't have a set system for them. Can you elaborate on what we were talking about with that?
Absolutely. So Reggie, when you're an entrepreneur, you're doing everything yourself. So if you never stop to define your processes and systems, then now you're overwhelmed with work and you want to bring someone on. And so great, you've got someone to come and help you, but now how are they going to help you? And you're like, oh, wait a minute, we have to define it. We have to figure out, what are we going to do? Okay, what is it? But now, if you've really established your business with systems thinking in mind, then you're going to have a process. You're going to say, look, what's overwhelming me is my fulfillment process. Here is how I fulfill my product. Now I can hand it off to warehouse personnel that are going to do my fulfillment. I no longer have to do this. Yeah. And you can be very confident that that's going to be done to your standard because you've already proven that that process is repeatable and scalable. And you can do the same with any other process in your business.
And that could be whether they're an employee or whether you have a third party, doing a service or something for your company. And I mean, for example, like warehousing, third-party logistics, warehousing, that sort of thing. So talk about keeping a team aligned. Is how do you keep everyone in line and keep them on task when you're starting up like that and everything seems like it's moving, in so many different directions?
Well, again, with a systematic approach, it's clear to identify the gaps in the process because you're repeating it. You see, okay, here's a repeated pain point. This is what we have to address. So rather than letting things get chaotic and, very cloudy as to, okay, where should we fix things? And, having this hit or miss approach to trying different things, you'll know, look, every time we get to shipping, our boxes are always late. So we need to make sure that we order boxes ahead of time. We need a larger inventory in boxes. Now our process can scale and move on. Simple, but it's the sort of thing where systems-oriented thinking helps you to be able to analyze just those gaps.
Yeah, and when we're starting up, I mean, things are crazy in the beginning. I mean, it's hard. Resources are tight, money is tight, And, so it can be really hard to balance. And what would be some of the things that you would recommend to start first? Or, your processes, what do you formalize first?
The first thing to formalize is your sales process. Now, let me tell you why. Sales is what's going to drive cash flow into your business. And any business that's starting, if you're starting from zero, you need money. So if you formalize your sales process first, then you're going to have a smooth transition of those that are interested in your core offer that want to avail themselves of the services you provide. And if you can do that smoothly, every single client comes in, they have a set process. You know where they are in the process. You know what level of follow-up they need. You know how you're going to close a deal, and you know exactly what happens once they close. Then it's not guessing. It's very smooth. It's very easy to scale it. You can even, as your pipeline grows and you feel like, okay, I've got so many people coming through, you can easily then delegate parts of that process with confidence because you know it's going to be done right. And you know that each step carries into the next.
Oh, yeah. And establishing that pipeline early on is having that pipeline laid out is crucial in the beginning. Doesn't matter if you're a one-person operation, 3-person, or 100. It's crucial. So moving on, you have mentored a lot of companies over the years. What's one piece of advice that you wish every business owner knew when they first started? Yeah, putting you on the spot here.
Boy, I tell you what is one piece of advice? I think if I was going to say something on this is sell to motivation. What do I mean by that? A lot of people try to use a lot of logic in to their sales process. They want to tell you about the features of their product, how they do it, what's ingenious about their thing. But at the end of the day, what people really want is solutions to the problems that keep them up at night. So focus less on the internals of what you do and focus on the things that really touch the core client you're trying to find. What is the problem they're trying to solve? And speak to that problem. Listen to the clients as they're speaking to you so that you get hints of, well, what is their problem? Yeah. What is it they need? And address those needs through your service or product.
So I'm put you on the spot here. Can you give me an example of that? Like if you're starting a business, let's say that we're starting a business, let's say a plumbing business or something like that. How do you apply that piece of advice on starting that business?
Classic, right? Reggie, have you ever had a pipe burst in your house?
At the worst times.
At the worst times, yeah. I we had a pipe burst in our house, and it kept me out of my office for almost a month. But here's the thing. If the plumber came to me and told me, you know what, I use high quality copper piping, and you know what, I went to school in order to do like the perfect welds. Is that what I want to hear about when my pipe is leaking? Yeah. Yeah. No. What I want to know is, can you plug that leak?
That's right.
And I tell you what, until that plumber came in and said, look, oh yeah, I can identify that leak. I've got a means to look inside that wall and find it, and I can patch it in a half hour. That's the guy that got the business.
Mm-hmm. At least turn the water off first.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, if you had to start a business today, what's the first thing that you might do differently than when you started your career? I know it's a deep question.
I think that if I was to start over, I would focus more on my positioning. Again, it goes back to communicating well. What does your product do? I think a lot of time is spent on the internals, trying to tell people about every possible thing you do in your business, but that doesn't really resonate well. They're not in your business. But they have a problem that needs a solution. And so positioning well, how you solve a problem and articulating that well, having a clear offer, I think that's the key.
That's good stuff. Well, let me ask you this. How can entrepreneurs stay focused today when there's so much tech fatigue, so much noise? I know I get so many emails and stuff out there want me to do AI, adopt AI processes. How do you stay focused and avoid getting bogged down with what's out there?
You have to make sure that tools and technology are not leading your strategy. And many people have like this shiny toy syndrome, right? Something new comes out, I'm gonna use it. Oh yeah, AI. Well, everybody else is using AI. I should be using AI.
Yeah.
But why? What is the purpose of that? And again, being very intentional about your use of technology, knowing how to implement it, but why you're implementing it. Not just the process of using it, but knowing, what is it going to do for my business? Why do I need this? What is the pain point that I'm specifically addressing with this? That's what's important. I spend a lot of time with my clients talking them out of technical solutions that they think they might need simply because we haven't established a good process yet, or we don't know exactly where that piece of technology will fit in. Now, it may be that they need it, but knowing exactly why and how they're going to use it makes it so that it's a much better, effective investment in their business when they bring on a new technology.
Oh, wow. Remember years ago, whenever Apple had first came out with the iPod, and every business after that had a new gadget put I in front of their gadget, iGadget, iPlant, iTree, whatever. And then after that, it became smart. Everything is smart. A smart TV, a smart flower plant, a smart microwave, and that was definitely some fatigue there as far as where we're at. And then today in 2025, we're on AI this, AI that. And it's like, it's not really AI. It's just clever programming. But that's some of that tech fatigue stuff there. It's a lot of offerings out there, and you just get overwhelmed with everything you think you should have.
Absolutely. You definitely need to understand your technology, your tools, and be focused. People aren't focused. They're not present in their business oftentimes because they're delegating that to technology. Well, that makes it so that they miss out on the experience of their business and really being able to see real pain points in their business that they can address, and that could limit their growth. So if you want to scale, it's not about having more technology. It's being very purpose-driven in your implementation of technology.
Very good stuff. All right. Well, rounding out the last little bit here, I got a couple questions for you. I'm going to dive in a little bit of a personal thing here, but what's one mistake that you feel like you made early in your entrepreneurial journey that maybe taught you a valuable lesson?
Early on, I had a client that I brought on that I was just so eager to have him as a client that I way overpromised what I could deliver. And that was a mistake because it made it so that I now was doing work that I wasn't getting paid for because it was more than I had actually quoted him for. And that not only negatively impacted my client because now it took me longer, I had to do more work, the scope was just much broader, but it also impacted me negatively because now I viewed this client negatively, like, oh, I'm doing all this work for him and he's not paying me for it. And why do I? So I didn't enjoy that work. So right there and then, that was the one time, and I want to make it my only time where I want to be honest and transparent with what I can deliver and make sure that I don't overpromise. And if the scope is larger, don't be afraid to say, look, the scope that you're describing is larger, and so it has a different set of deliverables and maybe a different cost.
Yeah, that's good advice because I feel like we've definitely done that with Blue Horizon Innovations, where you really want those first few customers, and you don't mind like stepping out on that, but at some point it can really bog you down. So that's very good advice. All right. Another random question here, but I love to ask. This is my favorite questions. I love breakfast, the breakfast time. It's the time before the rest of the day gets crazy. So I ask this to a lot of people. If you could have breakfast with anyone, past or present, who would it be?
You know, you asked me this, Reggie, and I had to think about it. And quite honestly, I think depending on the day, I might answer it differently each time. But someone I really thought about this time, Reggie, is Simone Weil. You familiar with Simone Weil?
No.
Right. Nobody is hardly.
Yeah.
But she was an interesting person in the 30s. She died really young. She was only 34.
Oh, wow.
But in her short career, she wanted to advocate for people. So, for example, she wanted to advocate for the factory workers. So what did she do? She took on a factory job to be able to understand their plight and how to improve their lot.
Oh, wow.
She was a pacifist, and she volunteered for the Spanish Civil War just so that she could understand what war was really like. I mean, she was a radical person, probably a little bit controversial for the climate we have today. But here's the thing: in business, presence is often missing. And I think Simone would drive me to be present in my business. That's how she was. Like when she went to the factories to understand factory workers, even though she came from an aristocratic background. So that would probably help me lead with more depth and not just speed. The other thing is, I thought about this, is that she had a very multidisciplinary approach to her work. It spanned politics, theology, many other things. And I think for what I bring to my clients is that multidisciplinary approach where I draw from all my experiences in software development and business management, in sales and different processes, and help them also have that multidisciplinary approach to their business so that they can leverage all sorts of different things that will help them scale and grow.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very cool. Very good answer, by the way. Yeah. All right. Personal question here, and doesn't have to be business related, but what do you see as your greatest accomplishment to date?
This one is a good one, because it has nothing to do with my business work directly.
You know what? I hope it wouldn't.
Yeah.
I hope it wouldn't.
It's building a life of contentment. Now, Reggie, let me explain to you. Contentment is different than complacency. Complacency means you're just like happy with your lot in life and you do nothing about it. Mm-hmm. But when you have contentment in your life, it means that although you're driving to a greater goal and you want to grow, you stop and value the gems in your life now, and the many things that you have to enjoy. Many entrepreneurs are so driven by the goals they want to reach, they don't stop to really enjoy the benefits they have now, and that leads to burnout and dissatisfaction and discontent. But being contented, I think that's one of the biggest accomplishments. In whatever situation or circumstance that we found ourselves, wherever we were in our time, my wife and I have really found that being content helps us to keep our joy and helps us to really be satisfied with what we've accomplished so far.
Oh, wow. That's a great answer. Great answer. Where can listeners and viewers find out more about Bixli and about you?
Well, I love to connect with entrepreneurs on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is really my main channel where people can reach me directly.
All right. Mauricio Mendoza, LinkedIn.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll put the links up in the description.
Great.
All right.
And also Bixli.com. That's my website.
Bixli.com.
That's right. And you can find me there, find out about our company and what we offer. And if we can help you, we're happy to do it.
All right, and today's episode is definitely not sponsored by Little Debbie. I got to tell you, if it were sponsored by Little Debbie, I would tell you just how delicious their fudge rounds really are. But they're not a sponsor, but they could be. So Little Debbie, if you're watching, call us, reach out to us. We'd love to have a crew, love to have some more equipment here. But anyway, well, was there anything else today that we didn't get to cover? Anything you wanted to see?
Reggie, it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yes.
Thank you for the invitation. I think that your focus on helping businesses, especially those that are starting up, to have these resources is key. Building an ecosystem, giving back to the community is so important. Again, we spoke about the work that I do with the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, mentoring others. You're also taking a piece of that with the work here on this podcast. That's really important. And so I hope that you continue to thrive. I hope that this continues to be a great resource for many others who are starting their business journey or are on that runway to take off.
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. It's a fun journey. And, starting a business is a fun journey, and everything, the energy that it brings along, the meeting new people. So it is definitely quite an undertaking, but it's recommended. I mean, it leads to a lot of freedom, being happy with where you end up. So it's good. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. And thank you to Mauricio for being on the show. You guys take care. Thanks a lot.